This is the Business Owners IT Podcast with Anthony Gerasch and Ryan Carter, where tomorrow's technology meets today's conversations.
I am Tony Gerasch.
And I'm Ryan Carter, and this is the Business Owners IT Podcast.
A podcast where we discuss tips, tricks, and solutions for business owners involving all things tech.
And here we go with our series on CIS. Today we're going to do control number 4, secure configuration of enterprise assets and software. For this one, you're going to want to establish and maintain the secure configuration of enterprise assets, end-user devices, including portable and mobile, network devices, non-computing, IoT devices, and servers and software, operating systems, and applications. That was a mouthful.
And why is it? To minimize vulnerabilities.
Yes.
Okay, so this one's not a very big control, so we should be able to get through it a little bit quicker than some of the other ones, but the key aspects are default configurations, standardized configurations, configuration management, baseline security, and change control. So default configurations, right? So, this is where you get into, your the way you set up your servers. What are the default configurations, or what are the, things that you do, to harden the operating system?
Yep.
Right? That's what that usually is. Standardized configurations, to have a standard type of configuration for your assets. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do standardization, right? So we try to, even internally, we try to ensure that we use the same software for everything, right? Mm-hmm. Most of our customers are going to have Huntress for their endpoint detection response. They're going to have Threat Locker for application whitelisting and also storage control. They're going to have managed detection and response, but that's like the standard. That's a standard configuration for us, right?
Yeah.
And then, maybe you have any other things that you can think of that are standard configuration. DNS filters, another one. Most of all of our computers that, it's our goal to join them to some type of identity management. Mm-hmm. Whether it be, Azure AD or, on-premise Active Directory or, a hybrid solution.
Those first two you talked about, the default configuration and standard configurations, I always hear this line in every form I fill out now. Do you have a hardened baseline configuration? And sometimes it makes me think, what does that mean, a hardened baseline? So, what would make it a hardened baseline configuration? What do you think?
Yeah, so what I think about that, right, is I think about when I go to Best Buy or I go to Walmart or somewhere like that, and I buy this computer and it's full of bloatware, right? So is that a hardened configuration? I just bought a brand new computer, but it has all this other software on it that they use to lower the price. So, a hardened configuration, when I think of it, is, what we do, right? We purchase a computer from, usually the computers are built, right? We buy them from Dell with just what we want on them, mm-hmm. right? So yeah, that's a hardened. And then what else do we do is when we get them, we install the Windows updates and we make sure that they have the latest fixes and they have, all that stuff is done on them. And then it's ready to go. We have a checklist that says, hey, this is what we want,
Yep. Local accounts,
yeah.
Local admins, only we have access to that. The users don't have local admin accounts. There's just many different things that we do when we do it.
Yeah.
Make sure the screen locks on for 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing when we do procurement, right? We give our customers our quote, and then they'll compare it to something, that's at, that they can buy, at
Amazon.
any place that's, and what happens is it comes with a whole bunch of software, right? That's not a hardened configuration. So when our customers decide they're going to buy that and send those to us, then we have to clean it all up.
Yep.
And get rid of it.
Spend an extra 4 or 5 hours.
Sometimes we just completely wipe it out, but if the image on there has all that stuff in it, it puts it back.
Yep. Seen that before. That's true.
Configuration management, so continuous management and monitoring of configurations are necessary to ensure systems remain secure over time. Regular audits and automated tools should be used to track configuration changes. So that's what they say, right? But in our case, right, we don't allow people to make configuration changes. Mm-hmm. We take away the administrator rights, right? So what's a compensating control, right? That's a compensating control. Well, if you can't change the configuration, right, then, you can't, you can't affect the computer. Now you can think of another thing, right? what's another good example of a configuration change? How about when somebody goes in and puts a rule in their email that forwards it?
Oh yeah.
That's a configuration change that they made, but can we monitor for that? Do we know when somebody is doing that?
We do now.
We do now, right?
Yep,
So we use a tool called Huntress.
Yep. Manage detection and response.
Then they got the baseline, right? Establish security baseline for configurations, help to ensure the system are hardened from the onset, including access, disabling unable services, closing unused ports, enforcing strong policies. I mean, we're doing that, right? And we're using tools. What tools help us with that? Well, Intune helps us with that. Global policies help us with that, right?
Yep.
So
group policy.
Group policies,
Yep.
global group policies. So those are all things that are kind of behind the scenes as a business owner. You don't you want to do this, but you might not know about it.
So I dove a little deeper into this, looking at the CIS website, which we'll put a link in the descriptions to this if any of you are kind of crazy and want to look at these things that I do. But they actually have benchmarks for each operating system for Office 365 on what you can do. But to show you how crazy these benchmarks are, I looked at the Windows 2019 server, and for example, it's over 900 pages long for the benchmarks. I mean, they're taking every setting and turning it and tuning it. And granted, you're not going to do that. It's
Right.
just it's too time consuming. It's too this, too that. But like us, we've done it for so long. We know exactly what configurations should be put in, and we're already creating those group policies. And some of the stuff we do, we do it from place to place to place, almost the same for that hardened baseline configuration that you would get.
Yeah, and there's also acceptable risk, right? So you're not going to, spend 60 hours doing a hardline baseline configuration, and that's why you should document it. This is what we need to do for this particular situation. But you're not going to do it. You're not going to spend that much time for, a four or 11 person, not for profit or a small lawyer's firm. I mean, you're going to do, what's needed.
Right.
So some of it's overkill, right? You don't have to do it all. You just have to do some of it.
Yeah. And you have to know what it is and isn't.
Right.
Anyway, because some of these things, if you turn them on, could cause havoc within the company, and production goes down, and then you're in trouble for it. So you gotta watch what you do, and that's where the professionals come in.
Yeah, and then one of the things they say, change control. Change to configuration should be controlled, documented, ensured that updates, adjustments do not adversely weaken security. Again, those are one of those things is a lot of this is like the IT admin, right, should have compensating controls in there that they can't make configuration changes.
Yeah.
Right? That they can't update software. They can't do that. So if they can't do it, then you should meet the requirement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anything else on that you got on your little notepad there?
Oh, I got plenty. But one key point we have here, going back to say that the Best Buy configuration is that systems and software, they are designed for ease of use.
Yep.
They're always designed for the user, for it to be easy to use. Like everyone loves their iPhone because it's so easy to use. Blah blah blah. But you got to remember, these things aren't designed for security. Default systems and software configurations are generally insecure. So it takes those hardened configurations and again, a professional to sometimes make it the way it needs to be so that it is secure and that you can continue going on with your business.
Yep.
I mean, that leads me to our tip, for this one, is that, you need to make sure you have separate admin accounts on your computers. You have to have that baseline security configuration, and then, multi-factor for your admins. That's one thing we didn't kind of talk about here, part of that security piece.
Yes, absolutely.
We gotta make sure you have screen locking, so your screens lock when you're away from your computer. And another one too that should be in that configuration is the Windows firewall. If you're using Windows, should always be on. Yeah. You're going to have IT professionals that say, "Oh, you got a firewall on the exterior of your business. Windows firewall does not need to be on." In my opinion, that's wrong. At this day and age, maybe a little while ago, but this day and age, it's so easy to get on someone's computer just by saying, just by making a phone call and saying, "Hey, I'm with Microsoft. Let me on your computer because you have a virus." And then all of a sudden they let them on, and then now they're on your network. And no one has their Windows firewall on. Boom, free game.
Yeah. And the Windows firewall should have the logging on so that you can, so that if somebody does get in there, you can see what they're doing.
Yep. Yes. Always turn the logging on and log both. Log successful and non-successful. It works both ways really well.
Yeah.
And that takes me to the end of this week. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, sure. I would just say the goal is to reduce the attack surface for organization IT environment by ensuring that systems are properly configured and maintained according to best security
Always.
So that's the summary of it. So having said that, I mean, thanks for tuning in to the Business Owners IT Podcast, and we hope to see you next week.
See you next week for Control 5 Account Management.
Unique computing solutions. Your IT challenges solved.